When I was younger, I was in a home that was very abusive, not like physically, but definitely mentally and emotionally. And there was a lot of emotional neglect, a lot of shaming and guilt from my parents, mostly my father, who was, I want to say he was a narcissist, and he also was abused by his father. So it's actually in the family. It keeps getting passed down generation to generation, because my great-great-grandfather also had the same thing too. So when I was younger, I didn't know how to deal with this. I started to inherit some of his egotistical thoughts and how to handle things. I started to think like him, and I became like depressed and kind of shy, avoidant. I think around when I was like 10 years old, I became very avoidant. Like, I was avoidant attachment style personality. I couldn't be myself. Like, I was always people pleasing and anxious around people, but I was still pretty happy. It wasn't until, I want to say, around 12 or 13, I started drinking. But like, drinking was just a form of escape from being bored. I didn't know at the time that this was very detrimental to me, because I thought, I'm just doing something that my dad does, and I couldn't really foresee like what damage this was going to cause. So fast forward to around 13 and 14, this is when smartphones came out, and I had a smartphone, and I was already into spirituality, even growing up from 5 to now. I was always into like, what is the purpose in life. I never looked to religion for answers, because I just hated going to church for some odd reason. It just never sat right with me. I felt like it was like a cult. So around 13 or 14, I dived into spirituality, and the message I got all the time was, your ego is bad. You must suppress the ego or get rid of the ego. And at the time, I did not know that this was actually very damaging. Because now I know, like, a healthy ego is needed. Because I'll tell you what happened. I started suppressing parts of myself that I thought were egotistic, instead of healing it and integrating it, and not knowing that my ego was actually just my protective defense mechanism for not receiving the love as a child that I needed. So this suppression actually didn't get rid of the ego and the egotistical thinking and thoughts. It just hid it. And I think this is what caused me to become a covert narcissist, because I was so into spirituality. I just like wanted to feel good naturally and be a good person. But I didn't know that all emotions are valid, such as grief, shame, and guilt, and we need to learn from those. Like, without having those emotions, we can't learn compassion, joy, and all the things that make a normal human being. So yeah, I didn't realize how damaging this was. Like, I knew something was off with the New Age teaching, because it was always about teaching positivity and not about like actual growth. It was actually spiritual bypassing, but it was a trap that I easily fell into, and I basically became a covert narcissist, an unaware covert narcissist. I knew I had these negative thoughts, and I always felt bad, so I knew I was doing something wrong, but I wasn't sure what it was. I kept thinking that maybe I wasn't fully getting rid of my ego. I didn't realize that what I needed to do was heal those parts in order to heal the parts that, like, the parts that needed to be healed were the parts that were craving the alcohol and the escapism. It's what kept putting me down, and I had no idea. So after finding out that I had the same, like, this is just now, I just found out that I had the same characteristics and traits as a covert narcissist. And now I know why. Because those traits started when I was younger. I got into spirituality and I thought that all these traits are bad. I need to suppress it instead of healing it. And I became a unaware covert narcissist until now. And I don't know if that still makes me one now. I definitely have better control of my thoughts. I know now, like, why those thoughts happen, like the mechanism behind it, because basically, you know, thoughts of like being superior and wanting to escape and feeling judgment towards others, that's all because I have deep shame within, or deep guilt that I have not healed. And those parts are actually looking for, like, in order to integrate those things, you need to basically get rid of the coping mechanism that you developed. Like, I'll give you one example. You know, seeking validation from people. That's actually coming from wanting to be seen, wanting to be your authentic self, but you can't because you have so much anxiety, and the anxiety actually comes from deep shame that's hidden within that you are actually afraid to come out. So yeah, most of my life I was just hiding myself, thinking that it was a good thing and that ego was bad, and I needed to just get rid of the ego in order to be spiritually awakened. So yeah, that's my story. And that's my story how New Age religion is terrible, especially for a kid growing up. It sends out the wrong message. It doesn't teach you how to do the real inner work healing. It just teaches you how to spiritually bypass. And it's also, I think, is a form of Luciferianism, because Luciferianism, I think, is all about spirituality, positivity, spiritual bypassing without doing the inner work, you know. And then Satanism is just embracing your, like, dark shadow side, which is, you know, all the negative feelings, just embracing them and not caring what other people think or how they feel, just doing what you want. So yeah, that's my story.